This is what college football looks like, and it's the same everywhere. Good times eating, drinking, and we all sort of pretend like we know what the hell's gonna happen. So even though I'm in New York and not on campus, all season long, I'm eating, drinking, and figuring out what the hell's gonna happen in the games of the week. This is Easy Call.
College football, week 6, been all over New York. Haven't been to Numpong. Yeah, Southeast Asian and Cambodian sandwiches, you don't even know. All right, first big game, and this is going to be a huge one in the Pac-12 North, 10:30 p.m. kick Eastern time. Stanford giving 6.5 points against a really good Washington team. Key for the Huskies, take that tempo on the road and really test it for the first time. First time they played in a real college atmosphere. They went to Illinois, they did fine. Number 2, they're going to need to succeed in those one-on-one matchups on defense. They're going to have to help against that Stanford power run. They're going to be given one-on-one opportunities on the outside. Got to succeed there. And finally, Keith Price, Washington quarterback, has to keep those Stanford safeties high and wide. That means testing them deep, because those Stanford safeties are going to look to help out and scrape against that Bishop Sankey running game. Keep them back on the field. All right, keys for Stanford. Kevin Hogan, Washington's pass D really good. Kevin Hogan, take chances, but don't go crazy. Don't press too much. Number 2, that offensive line needs to test that Washington front. Those big, huge Cardinal offensive linemen, David Yankee, those big power sets, test Washington. And number 3 for Stanford, as Bishop Sankey goes, so does Washington's offense. Got to be able to wrap him up early on in his runs. The yards after carry could be killer. Play sound assignment football if you're Stanford. 6.5 points, not bad. Oh, look at this. It's pork belly, the 5-spice pork belly sandwich. I'm going Stanford here, 27-20 to barely cover against a very good Washington team. And this is beyond very good looking. You got a 2-day process curing, braising. Good combo of the fresh herbs and carrots with that really rich pork belly. You're not talking about 4-spice here. Full 5-spice experience. Next up, another Big Ten matchup. Ohio State, 5.5-point favorites, going to Evanston, playing a very good Northwestern team, perhaps as talented a Northwestern team as Pat Fitzgerald has had. Keys for Ohio State, speed. Northwestern talented, can't be talented enough to keep up with speed. Ohio State has a big advantage there. Number 2, tempo. Vary that tempo, extend drives. Northwestern, not so good defending on third downs. Wear out that Northwestern defense, do it with tempo. Ohio State's defensive front, third key. Bigger, stronger, faster than Northwestern's offensive line, an offensive line that has let a lot of players into the backfield. Ohio State needs to take advantage of that. Put pressure on Trayvon Green, put pressure on Trevor Siemian. They're going to succeed. Keys for the Northwestern Wildcats. Oh my God. I'm going to take 1 second before the keys. Sriracha up. Oh yeah, get up in there. We're talking about a tiger shrimp sandwich. Northwestern, big time quarterback play, gonna be huge. Trevor Siemian's gonna have to come up big against a bigger, faster Ohio State defensive line. Number 2, secondary. Can't get caught looking at Braxton Miller, can't get caught getting sucked into play action, need to have sound eyes. And finally, number 3, luck. Northwestern's not as talented as Ohio State, talented enough to take advantage of turnovers, field position, weird special teams, miscues. They are going to keep this pretty close. I like Ohio State late by a touchdown, but this is going to be a barn burner. Let's go Ohio State 31-24. Like a Cambodian po' boy. Okay, this one's going to be a fun one. In the ACC, Maryland traveling to Doak to take on an undefeated Florida State team. Favored by 15.5, the Seminoles are, but Maryland frisky this year under Randy Edsall. Keys for the Terps. Number 1, don't be dumb on the road. It's okay to start slow, just don't make mistakes. Don't be stupid. Number 2, you've got really fast guys, Maryland. You have Stephon Diggs and Deion Long. Get them in space, get them on crossing routes, get them behind Florida State secondary. Tough, but you can do it. And finally, that defensive front needs to come through. They're vastly undersized against Florida State's offensive line. Be sound. They're very small, but you can still tackle if you're small. Keys for Florida State. Number 1, Jameis Winston has shown an ability to pick apart teams. He is a surgeon, not a butcher. Keep on doing that against a good Maryland defense. Number 2, Florida State's offensive line, like I said, much bigger. Go straight at Maryland with Devonta Freeman, with James Wilder. Be big, be ugly, be bruisey. And finally for Florida State, like I said, Maryland has small, little, awesome, fast guys. Secondary needs to stay with them. LaMarcus Joyner, quite good. All sorts of talent in that secondary. They've gotten burned this season. They can get burned again. I'm going to go Florida State here. I think there's too much talent ultimately by about 17. Let's go 37-20, but Maryland's fierce and they're feisty. Ooh, like these chicken wings. Transition. Okay, we've got multi-spice chicken wings. blood orange lemonade because I'm a bit soft when it comes to wings. You got some daikon, some pickled watermelon rinds. This is next level. What do we have here? Okay, very tender. Here comes the spice. There it is. Look at that glisten. You can't teach that kind of glisten. You can't coach glisten. Next, we've got a good SEC East meets West matchup. Yeah, Florida, 10.5-point favorites against Arkansas. Woo, pig underdogs. Keys for Arkansas, two really good running backs, Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams. Number 2, Trey Flowers, Chris Smith. Really scary defensive end combo for Arkansas. A sneaky good defensive line for the Hogs. 3, Swamp's really hard to play in. Arkansas is playing in the Swamp as a relatively new offense. It's a good offense, it's an interesting offense. Not a good enough one to survive dumb penalties, especially with how good Florida is on third down. The Florida Gators, they're going to need to survive on defense without Dominique Easley. That means no yards after contact, no yak against Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams. 2, Tyler Murphy's still new, doesn't need to throw 30-yard passes. 8 yards is great, play for first downs. Lastly, turnovers. Don't commit them, Gators. Tyler Murphy's still relatively new, threw a dumb pick last week. That offense, not that good. Offense, really not good if they're turning the ball over. 10.5 points, too much for me, especially with how well Arkansas looked against Texas A&M for 3 quarters. Yeah, that's right. I'm going Pig Suey here. They're gonna lose, but they're gonna lose close. 24-20 Florida. This is what we have here. It's a change of pace. A roasted cauliflower sandwich. You got some soy milk mayo on there. I've had a lot of fried chicken lately. It's time to be a little bit nicer to the waistline. I'm a big Collie fan. So I'm going back to Collie, but I won't say that. I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. Here's the big difference. You got this Chinese Thai eggplant spread on there. It's a little spicy, mixed with the crunch of the cauliflower and the freshness of the veggies. This is really something. Last game, big old-fashioned Big Ten shootout. Illinois going to Nebraska. The Huskers 10-point favorites. This is gonna be a really fun one to watch. Illinois, Keys, they gotta get a lot from Nathan Scheelhaus. Nebraska's pass D, not that good. Test them early and often. Number 2, Illinois is going on the road for the first time, really. Chicago doesn't count. Keep their composure for 4 quarters, and it's gonna be a pretty loud Nebraska stadium. The big one, the last one, they're gonna need to make it count. Along the defensive front against Nebraska's run game, Amir Abdullah and Taylor Martinez, you don't hit them first and make it count, this is what they're gonna do. They're just gonna keep going. They're just going to keep on running. For Big Red, just what I said. The running backs, well, I guess I'm counting Taylor Martinez as one of them, do this. Inside, outside, pick apart an Illinois front that's not all that good against the run. 2, turnovers. Illinois is awful against the pass. So don't screw up and try to challenge and press Taylor Martinez. Just take what Illinois is gonna give you. They're gonna give it to you. Number 3, Illinois can't run the ball, which means they could be susceptible to 3 and outs. Nebraska's offense needs to make that defense pay. Play quickly, play out of control, lightning fast quickly. They're gonna need to wear out this Illinois defense. It's only okay. This game has shootout written all over it. I'm gonna take those points. Illinois loses, but they make this real fun. This has been a real fun day here at Numpong. All right, let's rank these real quick, and they're all ridiculous. Number 1, you know what? I'm gonna go with the shrimp. I'm gonna go with the Cambodian po' boy, which I am making up. They would never call that here. And then I'm gonna go with the cauliflower, and then I'm gonna go pork belly. I know the pork belly is a signature, and there's clearly a reason for it, but the freshness of these two, of the shrimp and the cauliflower, the wings are really good and good to put in between them, but sandwich-wise, real strong game here. Ooh, Numpong. Paper bag of some sort, and yeah, now it makes a lot more sense. A roadie. I'm gonna head out there. Here, let's get this settled because the NYPD does not take kindly to open containers. We'll unscrew, see how this tastes. Just as I remember, let's get out of here. So good news, I'm full of Cambodian sandwiches. Also, I'm 16-7-2 on the season. A certain point means I'm just making you money. This week, Stanford, Florida State, Ohio State, Illinois, and Arkansas. And at a certain point, I just gotta deal with this bad boy. Cheers.